Hello and welcome to SGTV. Today we are joined by Stephanie Ward and we're going to be talking about women in the trades. So Stephanie, thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to get you on the show. So yeah, as I said at the start, we're going to be talking about women in the trades. We've touched on this subject sort of briefly here and there with various guests we've had on the show, but I want to sort of go a bit more into it today. So my first question to you is, do you think there are less women in the industry due to fewer opportunities, or perhaps that some women may not think that being an electrician is actually an opportunity, a possibility for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it was definitely not something that I ever thought I could do, just because it wasn't pushed at school on these enterprise days and stuff like that. It wasn't the norm, and I think we need to push to make it normal. Yeah, there's a lot more women in the industry now than there was before, but there's still not enough. We're still such a minority. So yeah, I think it's the opportunities and it's the awareness as well.
So let's talk about the opportunities. So do you think that that people may be sort of discriminating against women, or I don't know? I'd like your opinion.
For me, I've not experienced this much. I've had the odd rejection that just says you're not the right fit for the job, but generally I've not had much discrimination face to face. But I think it is a factor. I know I hear other stories of other people on Instagram and stuff saying that they've had a really bad situation and they've this has happened, or they've definitely been discriminated against within the industry. For me, that's not happened, but I've been quite cautious about the jobs that I apply for and stuff like that, because it's always conscious in your mind. You don't want people to think that. And you almost make yourself a little bit vulnerable, I think, in that situation. But I think if you just go ahead in there with open arms and you just literally you go in there with no hesitations, you don't see yourself as vulnerable, then I think the lads will just treat you as any other.
You think a lot of it is confidence?
For me, yeah, in my experience, definitely. I think I probably took myself out of it more than it's actually shown. Yeah, don't get me wrong, you get the odd comment, but I just brush it under the carpet because it's not normal, and I know I shouldn't push it under the carpet, but it's, at the end of the day, we need to change that stigma. We're in a man's world, but it shouldn't be a man's world. It should be a fair opportunity and equality.
Yeah, the equal opportunity for all, no matter. Yeah, I agree. What about the awareness side of things? So I'll ask you first of all, what sort of brought your attention to being an electrician?
So my father-in-law's an electrician, so
Okay.
I was quite fortunate that he sort of took me through my training. But even when I was first initially into it, we went to an open day at college, and he said, right, we're going to wait a year because we need to get you better than the boys before you start, because he was aware of obviously the discrimination that could potentially be there. So he didn't want me to be in a position where I was a target. So we got me up to scratch, and they ended up finishing level 2, top of the class, and getting an outstanding award for level 2, which was absolutely amazing. And I was the only female. Well, there's only 3 of us that got distinction. Obviously, I was the only female that got distinction as well in level 2 practical, which I'm taking to this day. I will take that to my grave. I got that, so I earned it. So yeah, but he made sure that obviously I knew what I needed to know before I started. So I was a little bit ahead of the game when I went to college, but he just didn't want me to be that target.
But I mean, although he's sort of inspired you to do it, it's you who's you had the drive to learn and apply that enthusiasm and everything. And this is something I've been banging on about a lot lately, because I've been hearing it from more and more people, even employers, all different areas of the industry, saying how attitude is the biggest key. Whether it's in college, whether it's people applying for jobs, whether it's actually being on the job, attitude sort of trumps knowledge of the job, because you can teach the job, but having the attitude to learn that and be willing and knock on doors, that's the big one that I'm hearing about at the moment. And it's good to hear, you know, you people, younger people, older people, everyone across the board, it seems to be the same formula, which is good to hear.
No, absolutely. You just gotta go for it. And I think I do hear from a lot of women that women in generally, I think, because they have to prove something, the attitude is like second to none. Whereas I find some of the younger lads, potentially they've been pushed into it by their parents. It's not something they're passionate about necessarily. Whereas obviously for us women, we've made that choice, and it is something that we want to do. It's not something that, oh, we'll just do that because we can. It's, well, we've made that choice because we want to do it and we're passionate about the career choice that we've chosen.
Yeah, that sort of leads me on to my next question in a way. I mean, you've already said that your father-in-law sort of got you inspired into it. And I was going to say, a lot of people I speak to in particular, they get into the industry because they're inspired by someone, whether that's watching someone on YouTube, whether it's their dad. I know a lot of younger lads, for example, the dad has pushed them into becoming a Sparky. So for you, do you think it was mainly your father-in-law, or did you have other influences that sort of thought, oh yeah, that's what I want to do?
It was solely him. It wasn't something I ever considered, and then because I was in retail before, I was just, you just go to work. You don't really come home and think you've had a good, you've made an impact on someone or done something amazing. You just go to work 9 to 5 or whatever it is, and you come home. But as soon as I started working with him, because I was only working a couple of days a week with him just casually while working alongside my full-time job, it was just like I put the effort in because he inspired me to carry on and to continue. He basically turned around to me and said, if you want to learn, I'll teach you. If you don't worry about it. Like, we'll
Yeah,
just carry on and you'll just go fetch tools for me, clean up and everything.
I love
But I
that
made the
because
choice.
yeah,
So
I love that because he's not being pushy, saying
no.
here, you know, if you want, and I think that's an important thing. I think if you push someone and force them to do it, you're gonna get them pushing back, and they might not enjoy it, they might not be enthusiastic. But if you're sort of saying, look, if you want me, I'll help you. If not, fine. There's no right or wrong answer here. So I like that. I like that method of
Yeah,
teaching. Yeah.
exactly. And that comment will stick with me for the rest of my life. And I've said it to so many people before. Like, it was, he wasn't going to push it on me, but he knew that he needed to get me up to a certain standard in order to succeed, and which he obviously did.
Do you think that'll stick with you in terms of if ever, when you know several years into the industry, that you might be training apprentices and or people coming from different parts of the industry? Do you think that sort of method will stick with you?
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you'll feel, I think you'd feel more enthusiastic about it because you've got that inner sort of inspiration to keep you
Yeah, you've got
going.
that fire almost, haven't
Yeah.
you, to sort of encourage others or have the same mentality as that. So yeah, I've doubt that comment will forever stick with me.
Do you think? I know we're in an age of information now. You've got YouTube and all these different channels, and we're seeing a lot of female sparks on YouTube, such as Karen Boom, Amy. There's loads of them now, which is great. Do you think that? Well, I'm going to ask, does that inspire you? And do you think it will inspire another generation of females? Well, not even female sparks, just anyone.
Yeah, I think especially Amy, she is doing an absolute phenomenal job inspiring others, talking to others about their journeys, and everything like that. I think, yeah, she's just absolutely brilliant. And her Instagram's amazing, and she's just completely real about it. And she's always really open about her situation as well, which is, I think, important. I remember the first time I've heard about Karen. I think she was on the Screwfits competition,
Yeah.
and then but she's always there to give advice, or if we need a reg that we're not quite sure about, or she's always there for advice if we ever need her. So no, absolutely. But there's so many out there that are just inspiring, and they're just absolutely smashing the industry.
Yeah. What do you think it is that inspires people when you? I think when you look at people on the internet, you can be drawn into. I take Instagram for example, like your influencers, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. I think people in general can be drawn into that for the money, the recognition, fame, whatever you want to call it. But when you're looking at Sparkies, you're talking about a very grounded industry where you're not flashing cash, you're not on a yacht somewhere, you know, taking selfies, that kind of thing. So what do you think it is that sort of draws people in for seeing people like Karen or anyone on YouTube?
I think it's the satisfaction of having something like working, and I think with it, especially with electrics, I think for me, I get a buzz off something working, or you know, you've done a nice job and everything like that. You can see your progress, whereas other jobs aren't necessarily like that. And don't get me wrong, it's hard graft and you get filthy, and but you know what, like no one out there is gonna like keep clean, because you see everyone. There's a new trainee Sparky, Jen the Spark she's called, and she's just started her training recently, and she was covered in dust and she did not care at all, and she was like full on putting it on Instagram. And you know what, you're not afraid to get your hands dirty at all.
Yeah.
You just jump straight in. And I think that's it. Like often girls are perceived as these prim and proper, always got to have your hair straight, makeup on, nails done, when actually I think people are quite shocked when obviously we're covered in dust, covered in goodness knows what, and you know what, we just crack on.
I quite like it though. I know it sounds weird, but I kind of like sometimes when you come home and you're covered in muck and you get cleaned off, you're like, I've earned that.
Yeah, absolutely.
As daft as that sounds. You know, you were saying about when you was working in retail and it was just sort of turn up, go home, turn up, go home. Do you think that seeing something productive and seeing like a finished product, whether you've done a rewire or a consumer unit or even just changed faceplates, whatever it is you've done on that day, do you think that sort of sense of achievement and seeing something physical and productive sort of does some kind of inner satisfaction that just makes working in retail a complete no-no?
Yeah, 100%. I literally, even now, and I've been in the industry 7 years now, even now I get a buzz off, you know, if I've done if something works, and I'm like, I know how to do my job. Why should I be so excited about
You do though, don't
a
you? You
circuit
think,
working?
yeah.
Or, but no, it's no, absolutely. I day in day out I get that buzz. Oh, don't get me wrong, you have days where you're not as productive, or you don't feel like you've done a good enough job or whatever. But we all have days like this. Like not everyone's amazing all the time. Not that I'm saying I'm amazing, but like obviously I know how to do my job. I come across a lot of issues. So I work in social housing, so a lot of things that I have to rectify. And you know what, one of my favorite jobs is fault finding, and I absolutely love it. And some people hate it, absolutely hate it. But you know what, you know, when you realize that you found the fault and you've rectified it and you've sorted it out, the satisfaction is unreal.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that hate it, love it. I know some people that hate EICRs, some people love them, some people hate rewires, some people love them, and I think that's the beauty of this industry. There's so much you can do. You don't have to sit still if there's something you're not enjoying. You said you've been in the industry 7 years, so sort of tell us about those 7 years, sort of where you started out to sort of where you are now.
I started out literally with my training, doing 2 days a week with my father-in-law, and then working full time at that time. So I was basically working 7 days a week for a good 2 years whilst doing college. It about broke me.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was really tough because I wasn't getting home. So I did college 2 nights a week, and then so I wouldn't get home till gone 9, and I'd possibly not been up since 5 in the morning. So it was a long day. And then in between having to do like coursework and stuff like that, it was hard, but like now looking back, it was so worth it. So I did college 2 days a week for 2 years. So I did my level 2 and my level 3 diplomas, and then I did my regs and then my 2 short courses for my test and inspection at that point as well. So that took me up to, I think, about 2.5 years in. And then I took a little bit of a break from studying qualifications. I went to get married, and then bought a house and stuff. So obviously I needed that solid employment, so I couldn't leave the job that I had at that time, because obviously I needed to get my house. So as soon as I got my house, I started actively looking for a job, and I connected with someone on LinkedIn actually, who was looking for electricians in the Mansfield area. Bear in mind, I'm based in Leicester, but there was just, I couldn't find opportunities out there, and I was writing to people and I wasn't really getting much back. And I was about to give up, and I was about to, well, I'd applied for a job at Openreach, BT, and I was like, I just need to get stuck in. So I did that, but the recruitment process is just horrendous with them. So that took a long time. So in between time, I managed to be approached by this woman on LinkedIn. And then, I went in for an interview, got my CSCS card, and then, got offered the job pretty quickly. And I wouldn't regret that at all. But the travel, because I was traveling to Sheffield every day, was, again, it was long days, long hours. Yeah. But you know what, if it's what you got to do to get where you need to be, then you do it. So I did that for about just over a year, and then the pandemic hit. So I ended up, so 3 of us went down to Wales to just do EICRs. So we were down in South Wales for 9 months before I got the job at the housing association that I'm with now in December.
Having to stay away from home for that time.
Yeah, so it was Monday to Friday we were away. And then just come back at weekends. But it was tough.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't regret it, because obviously I've learned a hell of a lot in the time that I was with that company. But I'm a better spark for it now, and I would do a lot more work on my own as well now. But I absolutely love the company I work for, and I've only been there 7 months, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself going from here?
I want to probably eventually go into supervision, and so where I am at the minute, I could then go to senior electrician, and then maybe contract supervisor. But I want to be on the tools for a good 10 more years, I think, just because of the satisfaction and what you get from it. And then there's potential of having like an apprentice or something later down the line, because the company I'm with is looking to expand and stuff like that. So there's definitely potential to obviously pass my passion on to someone else. So I want to see that through first, and then maybe go into the supervisor role, definitely later down the line.
Yeah, you didn't even hesitate in answering that, which is good. So you definitely know where you want to go, which is a good direction to be in.
Absolutely.
My next question is sort of about the physical aspects of being an electrician, and people. I'm saying people. I know, like I've said before, although this is aimed at women in the Sparks, I think people in general can be put off from being an electrician because it can be a physical job. It can be quite demanding. So was this ever a factor for you?
No, you just go to the gym, work out a bit more. Literally. Only yesterday I ripped out 5 storage heaters.
Really? Oh, they're heavy. They are. They're horrible things.
Yeah. So I had to rip them out, and then it was a 3rd floor flat, so I had to then carry them all downstairs and load my van out, and then take them to the skip, and then unload the van into the skip. So it is hard graft, but it's so rewarding. Some
of them have asbestos in as well, don't they? The old ones.
Yeah, so I have like there's an online thing that gives you all the ones that have contain asbestos. Yeah. So before I rip them out, I check the serial numbers to make sure obviously nothing contains.
Yeah, I think, going off topic here, but talking about asbestos, it's so scary how varied an opinion electricians and tradesmen in general have about asbestos.
I know.
Some people, and rightly so in my belief, are afraid of it, and they will go belt and braces with the safety and testing and all this kind of thing. And then some people have been like, nah, I've been scraping this off walls and drilling it and hammering it for 30 years without a mask, and I'm fine. And it's terrifying, but it's such a stark comparison of how many people are like that.
No, I know. Yeah, my head of department is massive on asbestos, and you know what? We have it all our reports readily available to us on an intranet. So there is no excuse for us. And if we're in doubt, we tell our supervisor and we get it tested. There is no excuse.
No, rightly so.
But I know some of the lads that I do work with, they're like, well, I've been drilling into it for years. I've been a Sparky for 40 odd years. Like, it wasn't an issue back then. So if I've damaged myself, I've already done it.
Yeah.
So it is a split opinion, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to live as long as possible and as healthy as possible. So even I don't want any of that in my lungs, to be honest.
No.
So do you think some might argue that there are, and this is, I don't want to upset Sparkies here, but some people might argue there are more physical demanding trades. I'm not going to name any because I'm going to end up centre of a nasty argument here, but some might argue that there are more physically demanding trades. Do you think that being an electrician has a good balance?
I think so, because you could one day be hauling heaters and then the other day could literally be changing sockets. I think it is completely varied, because for me, obviously, I don't deal with industrial cables or anything like that, but some of the lads I know I've spoken to, they're pulling these massive armoured. Like, for me, not because I'm a woman necessarily, but they would be heavy and I would struggle, and I know some of the lads do struggle. But I think within the cross, obviously, commercial, industrial, domestic, I think there's such a variety. And I think no matter if you have issues or anything like that with not hard graft, but like your ability, then I think it is a good trade, because you have got those smaller jobs that you are perfectly capable of that aren't as demanding on your body.
Yeah, we was in contact with a guy who's got some form of disability, but he's in the trade, and I have been meaning to get him onto the show at some point. So it'd be nice to get another perspective on how it can be done. Let's talk about how inclusive the industry is. We sort of touched on this at the beginning, but how do you think, whether it's school level, media, whatever, what do you think can be done to make this industry more inclusive for women?
I think it's all about our generation now. I think we need to pass it down to our children and make them more aware. I think parents generally have a massive influence on their children, because you see, obviously, all like, a lot of comments that come from children or the younger generation are influenced by their parents majority of the time. I do think this needs to be something that is passed down, and I think it needs to stop being a man's world and needs to just be an electrical world, a trade world. It shouldn't be gender specific. At the moment, I know things aren't going to change overnight, but I think it does come down to us having to pass that on and making it aware. I know Lisa Malloy's written a book called Molly in Construction, and it's basically about, obviously, it being a gender equality within a construction site, and she's doing really good things. Michaela Wayne and Hayley Roberts are trying to be more aware about more women in construction and making it more equal, like, generally. But it's not going to happen overnight. I think it comes in, a few factors come into it. I think part of it's obviously us as a generation, when we have children, we need to pass that on and make it the norm, as they say. Part of it is schools, I think, getting in early. Eventually, I've said this on a couple of podcasts now, eventually I do want to be in a position to go into schools and talk about my experience and say, well, I can do it, you can do it. And I want to be that influence, even if it's just one person. Like, I don't care, one little girl.
It makes a difference,
like,
though, doesn't it? I think a lot of people, whether it's something they've remembered from school or your father-in-law, whatever it is, you remember very clearly someone who inspires you all your life. You never forget that.
Exactly. So I think it is just down to our generation, and I think schools, and I think eventually we will get there.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I've banged on about so many times. The people that edit these videos have had enough of me saying this, but I'll keep saying it because I believe in it. That I don't think schools, especially from my generation, they don't do enough to encourage people into trades. They almost saw it as a dirty thing to do for people who aren't good at maths, which I just completely disagree with. I know some Sparkies that are incredible at maths, working out all the values, and it's better. It's above me. But I do think I think schools do need to do more to make people aware of trades, especially for women as well.
Yeah, I think we need to sort of hit them at end of primary school, going into secondary school, because I think they're the most influential age. I think if you make them aware then, they have no idea what they want to do. But I think if you plant the seed almost, and then as they go on, because obviously I'm assuming schools still do like design technology and all of those subjects, they'll be like, yeah, I can do this. But you need to plant the seed early for it to make a difference in their later life.
What do your friends think about this? I know you're saying people should stop having stigmas, but how has it sort of gone down in your circle that you've gone into this industry?
They were quite surprised when I told them. One of them didn't believe me.
Really?
She was like, no. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But I met with one of my best friends the other day, and I met one of her friends, and she was like, Steph is one of the most driven people. And I think she's just like really proud that I've just gone and defied odds almost, because my friends they work for the NHS, they're in the arts sector, they're teachers, they're not I don't know, like tradie inspired like I am, I guess. But no, they're all incredibly supportive and incredibly proud of me, which is really lovely.
That's the most important thing, I think, as well. Having people around you that are encouraging you, not being like, what are you doing that for, you know?
No, exactly. I get frantic phone calls from one of my friends, and she's like, Steph, my thing's just tripped. What's happened? So I'll FaceTime or I'll talk her through it. And yeah, it's just really nice to have that support network, definitely.
Are you seeing more females in the trades in general? I mean, when you're I suppose if you're doing social housing, I don't know if you'd see as many, but I mean, when you're on building sites especially, you're seeing plumbers, plasterers, brickies, all that kind of thing. Are you seeing more females in other trades?
So I used to work for Screwfix, so I didn't see that many electricians that came in, but I did see a fair few, either multi-skilled or heating engineers generally, around where I am, certainly. There was only one or two other electricians. There's not very many in our area still. I try and connect with the ones that I can on like LinkedIn and Instagram and stuff. But no, there's definitely not that many at all. So when you do see someone that's local, you try and support them as best you can.
I think, like we said, it's just as long as the opportunity there is equal, as long as anyone can do it, whether women decide to do it or not, fine. As long as they've got the opportunity and it's fair for everyone, I think that's the most important thing. I don't think I don't think anyone should be pushed into it, whether you're male, female, anything, whatever. As long as you want to do it and the opportunity is there, fine, brilliant. That's how it should be for everything, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have opinions really, because I need to be impartial, but that is my opinion.
I think that's really important, because especially with the danger of electricity, I think you have to be 100% in it to be safe, and ultimately it comes down to safety, because electricity is a dangerous thing.
Exactly, you have to be switched on. If you're tired, if you're not enthusiastic about it, that's when mistakes get made, and unfortunately mistakes in electrics can be deadly. So yeah. Exactly. So safety, that's something we've talked about a lot as well. But before we finish this episode, I just want to ask what your advice would be to any females thinking about getting into this industry.
If you want to do it, go for it. Don't worry about the opinions that other people have. If you're passionate about something, then absolutely put 110% into it, because you will smash it.
Absolutely. So, Stephanie, thank you for coming on the show.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Been a pleasure. And we've got another episode with yourself, which will be featured later in the year, which is going to be part of our Job Routes for Electricians mini-series. So if you haven't heard me speak about that before, it's a mini-series about the various job routes you as an electrician or aspiring electricians can take. So anything from domestic, commercial, rail, agricultural, engineering, tutoring. We're going to get as many people on the show talking about their experiences in the industry, just so you've got some options, which you have, by the way. So that's one to look out for. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and we will see you next time.